Well, Australia has for a long time had some of the strictest laws around smoking and tobacco consumption, and quite remarkably has the strictest laws that I'm aware of, and my next guest will correct me if I'm wrong, around vaping. Now, vaping is a life-saving tool. It's regarded by the UK College of Surgeons as at least 95% safer than cigarettes. We've covered all of that here on the Aussie Wire in the past. But not content with the harshest laws in the world, the federal government has just introduced a ban on single-use vapes. Here to talk about the implications is Brian Marlow from Legalise Vaping Australia. Brian, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Now, it's my understanding that the thing they've just banned was already kind of supposed to be banned. What exactly are they doing, and what is this ban?
Yeah, so just to be clear, the health minister's out there saying that he's taking really strong action to ban disposable vapes that come into the country. Now, about 100 million of these products come into the country every single year. They've always been banned. At no point have they ever been legal.
Right.
So what he's announcing is that he's going to ban a product that is already banned, and that's going to stop them.
He's going to ban them even harder.
These products, pardon?
He's going to ban them even harder.
Yeah, he's going to make the illegal product even more illegal. Is effectively it's effectively what they're saying. So, 100 million of these products come into Australia every single year. They're sold by crime syndicates. Criminals are happy to break the law and sell to kids. And effectively, what he's saying is, as of January 1st, 2024, I'm going to tell Border Force, who I might add, Border Force are on the record as saying that they can't stop these products.
Right.
He's going to tell Border Force to really, really super duper stop them this time.
Right. That seems like a really great use of taxpayer money and our border forces' time and attention. I mean, it's a good thing there are no other issues in this country that need to be addressed. From the government's point of view, though, if I can play devil's advocate for a second, what they're saying is that there is an issue with young people taking up vaping. They are particularly prone or particularly likely to be using these sorts of very cheap, disposable, single-use type vape apparatuses. Do they have a point? Is there a problem here that at least needs to be addressed, if not in this way, in some way?
Yeah, so there's absolutely a problem and it needs to be addressed. But the problem is that they've created the issue. So the Labor government has overseen, under their watch, something like an almost five-fold increase in youth vaping. And it's all happened as a result of blanket sort of prohibition on any kind of regulatory or legalization framework on high-quality vapes that you see in New Zealand, in UK, and all throughout Europe. So to run through some numbers, about 90 to 92% of all vapes in Australia are sold through the black market. So it's not some small figure. It's over 90% of vapes are black market vapes. And the government's response is that they're just going to ban the products that are already banned. They're not actually, to make matters worse, they're not actually giving any more money to law enforcement. So Border Force, who are tasked with stopping these products coming into the country, they've actually had over $500 million taken away from them. So the Border Force agent is supposed to look out for contraband, firearms, illicit drugs, any kind of, maybe some bombs coming through the mail.
Animals
but also,
that are banned,
while he's doing that, he's meant to keep an eye out for, a mango-flavored vape that's coming in from China. It boggles the mind. Now, what the government said is that after January 1st, when they get around to March, they'll then pass a whole raft of legislations to ban any sale of vaping products within the country and shut down any of the few remaining law-abiding shops that actually abide by the existing laws and just shut them down completely. So all they're going to do is make the black market even worse.
Look, I've never particularly been interested in vaping myself. I'm a cigar smoker, never had a cigarette in my life, but I do enjoy cigars. But I tell you what, if they're going to ban it, as this coverage from The Guardian says, then look, all of a sudden I'm interested. If they're going to try and keep it away from me, then all of a sudden, I mean, it must be good, right? And this is the problem with bans. They've never worked. The prohibition in the 1920s and 30s in the US didn't work. Talk to us a little bit about the consequences of the growth, I guess, in black market tobacco, as well as obviously black market vapes, as you've just covered, as a result of these bans and the punitive taxes.
Yeah, so right now, about 1 in 3, or up to 1 in 3 tobacco products sold are black market products. And as I said, 90% of vaping products sold in Australia are black market products. And they're not sold by some guy just selling under the counter to make an extra buck. They're imported by triads and they're distributed by Chinese triad gangs, but also bikie gangs. So down in Victoria right now, there have been fire bombings on shops over turf wars, over who can sell what illegal vape or tobacco product where. There's even been people shot dead on the street. So we look back at Prohibition America when the mafia was running around killing people over who could sell their illicit alcohol. And we're seeing the exact same here, but it's for a product that every single one of our Western counterparts uses as a way to help people quit smoking. So we've created a black market that benefits criminals on a product that's 95% less harmful than cigarettes.
Well, this is one of the extraordinary things. I did some coverage of the vaping issue pre-COVID, in the BC days, the before COVID days when the world went mad, and it was quite remarkable the number of people that came out of the woodwork. I put the call out and said, "Hey, if you've used vapes, can you tell me about your experience? Were they good? Were they bad? How's your health, etc." People were falling all over themselves to come out of the woodwork and tell me how vapes had changed their lives for the better. They'd been a pack-a-day smoker, they'd tried the patches, they'd tried this, they'd tried that, nothing had worked, and then vaping worked for them. Sometimes instantly, sometimes over a period of transition, but it's without question saved an enormous number of lives. I can't help but be amused by the contrast between what we're seeing here from Mark Butler, the Health Minister, and this Labor government here in Australia, and what we're seeing happening in New Zealand right now, because we've just had the news come out, this newly minted New Zealand government is actually winding back the prohibition or the attempted elimination, really, of tobacco use in New Zealand. What direction are they going in, and what's the rationale they're putting forward for why they're heading the way they are?
Well, so they've been leading the charge when it comes to this space of vaping and tobacco. New Zealand historically didn't have regulations on tobacco, on vaping products, and they had a similar issue where there was a big black market that was starting to take a foothold in that country. Thankfully, their health bureaucrats seem to actually look at the evidence and then adjust their position as the evidence changes. And what they decided to do was regulate and legalise vaping products in New Zealand. The black market has all but disappeared when it comes to vaping products there.
Sure.
And youth vaping in New Zealand is actually reducing. It's not increasing like it is here. On tobacco, it's almost a similar story. So the previous Ardern government wanted to move some, world first generational smoking ban. So if you were born after a certain date, you would never be able to legally buy cigarettes. Well, all that does is provide an incentive for black market operations to import dodgy tobacco products and sell them to those people, because there will be people, regardless of what the law says, that want to smoke cigarettes. So the new government's obviously looked at that evidence and adjusted their position. They've got rid of it. And to be honest, regardless of whether we think tobacco products are bad, obviously they are. Cigarettes kill 52 Australians every day from associated illnesses. At the end of the day, if you're an adult, you should be able to make choices for yourself, whether those choices are good or whether they're bad. Now, I'll tell you that you shouldn't smoke, but the idea that the government should just go in and ban any future generations from accessing a product when they become an adult is it's a really bad it's a very bad precedent to set.
Well, coming back to vapes in Australia, these single-use vapes and this ban, what would you propose as a better alternative if we recognise that young people getting a hold of vapes and getting addicted to nicotine is not ideal? And look, I'm a libertarian, but I'd agree with you. It's not ideal. I don't like to see that happening. What's a better way to try and tackle a problem like that?
Yeah, so the easiest option is just to follow what the UK and New Zealand's doing, which is they legislate and they regulate vaping products in a similar way that they do with tobacco. Now, they don't tax them the same because vaping products don't harm you like cigarettes do. But they allow those products to be legislated and regulated, which means that consumers have access to pretty high quality products and they're able to quit smoking with them. What we're proposing isn't rocket science. We're just saying, look at what the UK is doing, look at what all of our European counterparts are doing, and look at what New Zealand's doing, and just hit copy paste. And we know it will work. And I think for some of your viewers, I guess the question I would ask them is, maybe you don't like vaping, maybe you hate cigarettes, that's fine. But you've only got two options. The third option, which is let's just make all the products go away, that'll never happen. So you have an option where you can regulate these products, you can tax them to some extent, and you can use that money to help fund education programs and fund law enforcement. Or you can let people who shoot each other in the streets over turf wars over who can sell these products to kids exist. Those are the only two options you have. You don't have an option where vaping and tobacco goes away.
Well, given those options, our federal government has opted for the latter, with people shooting each other in the street for the right to sell vapes to kids. Unfortunately, that does seem to be par for the course in this country with the quality of our politics. We'll keep an eye on this story, and I do hope we see a change of heart. We've seen things change very quickly in New Zealand recently, and I do hope to see something like that in the future. Brian Marlow, thank you so much for joining us here on the Aussie Wire.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.